Hi everyone. This is our presentation on the avian flu. To start, the about the origin of the avian flu, it was first discovered in 1878 in northern Italy by a veterinarian that noticed a significant amount of chickens dying. It was referred to as the fowl disease because it's very contagious with a high mortality rate. And in 1955, the virus was then shown to be a type A influenza. And later in the 1970s and 80s, the influenza viruses were classified based on their antigenic properties of surface proteins and the species origin, which this classification is still used today. And then in 1981, the fowl plague became known as the avian flu.
And so, when talking about the transmission of this disease, after what Ellie mentioned, we can talk about how it originates in waterfowl. So, geese and ducks are suspected by the CDC to be the culprits of who spread this disease to chickens. And then from chickens, it went to humans. But we don't care too much about how humans get infected. It takes 2 to 4 days for them to get incubated and then experience symptoms. And although their symptoms are flu-like symptoms and there can be complications, in domestic birds like chickens, they can experience sudden death, which is bad for the economy because rip eggs.
Government surveillance. The USDA is currently working to prevent the spread of the virus by implementing quarantine measures, depopulating infected flocks, and providing guidance on biosecurity practices. The FDA is actually investigating the presence of HFN1 in dairy cattle right now and coordinating with USDA and CDC to ensure the safety of dairy products. The CDC also has multiple surveillance systems year-round to monitor influenza in humans, and as well as the wastewater surveillance systems. They are currently sampling wastewater to detect traces of the bird flu.
So now we're going to discuss some of the medical surveillance. So first of all, this avian influenza is detected in animals and in humans via a throat or nose swab that is then sent to a lab and then tested for the virus. The best way to prevent this disease from occurring is through minimizing exposure risks, especially for someone who works kind of really closely with birds and other things like that. Um, you can do this by fully utilizing PPE or personal protective equipment such as gloves, goggles, gowns, things like that. And then fully cooked animal-based products before use because avian influenza can infect cattle as well. So just make sure that you cook your eggs and your meat. Avoid handling dead or diseased birds as they can continue to hold onto the virus even after death and infect you that way. Wash your hands frequently as it can carry the disease when you eat something. And then get a flu vaccine. This can protect you from influenza A, but will not be helpful for H5N1, but will be useful for other types of influenza.